Okay, looks like we've got some people joining in. We'll be beginning shortly. My name is Mashur Chaudhry, um, and I'm the manager of recruitment and sales for the Chang School. And welcome to our info session for mental health and addictions certificate for the fall 2025 term. Now, before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. I want to pay my respects to the Indigenous peoples, elders, and ancestors who stewarded and cared for nature and the people who lived on the land where TMU is located today. At the university, we've made a deep and long-lasting commitment to truth and reconciliation. I invite you to learn more about this work online. Now I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenter. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You will have the opportunity to submit questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the question box, the control panel, and you may send in your questions during the session. We'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Now, before I welcome and introduce our presenter, I would like to do a quick poll with everyone, just to know what everybody's thinking, what the temperature is. We just wanted to understand what were your goals and motivations to consider this certificate. We have a few options available: career advancement, career change, skill building for current role, and personal interest and others. So yeah, we'll just leave it up for another couple of seconds. I know we still have a few people that are joining in, but yeah, we just wanted to see what are your goals and motivations to consider the certificate. So yeah, thank you for attending. Okay, so we will 45 seconds. We'll end the poll and those are the results. So yeah, career advancement and career change is the top reason. It's been pretty consistent with all of our info sessions as well. And thank you so much for participating, because this gives us good feedback that helps us with these info sessions and helps us provide feedback for our team. And some personal interest there, so that's really good to see as well. We have that usually for the certificate. So I'll stop sharing and I'll welcome Paul Burnett, who is our academic coordinator for the certificate at the Chang School, and he'll go over the overview presentation and tell us a little bit about the certificate. Welcome, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Just a little clarification is that there's two of us that are academic coordinators for this certificate and the psychology certificate. So you can always reach out to me or to Dr. Molson, who's the other academic coordinator. Okay, so some quick facts. The first thing is the delivery is online. So what that means is we actually have two different types of courses. We have the online courses that are asynchronous courses, and we have the online courses that are labeled as virtual, which are lecture based, but it's lectures delivered similarly to this. So it's a Zoom type lecture, whereas the asynchronous is module based. There's no lectures to. So when you're registering for courses, do look to see if it says online or virtual, because there is a bit of a difference. But basically, in both cases, you could do all the courses from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to commute into the campus and that kind of stuff. There are 10 courses. We'll go over a little bit further what those 10 courses are. You have some choice in them, and some of them you are specific that you have to take. In terms of the length, you'll see that it's a wide range from 1 to 7 years, and that's because one of the benefits of the certificate is flexibility. So depending on your time, how much time you have to commit to taking courses. You could take 2 to 3 or 4 courses per term and knock this out in a year. Or if you're working, you have family, etc., you might only want to take one course a term, and then it will take you longer. So you have up to 7 years once you register in the certificate, but you could feasibly get it done in 1 year. Depends on your time commitment. And then cost, I have no say over that, but it's basically there's a cost per course. So when you register, you pay for the course. So you're not paying for the certificate, you pay for the course. Who should take this program? Basically, everything that poll kind of addresses are the people who should be taking it. So if you're looking to make a career change that has a focus in mental health and addiction, would be a great starting point for you. It could be used to help specialize in a career that you already have. For example, we've had nurses register for this certificate, and it helps them specialize in mental health. It could be people who are looking to get into undergrad. They haven't done undergrad before, and this is their first step in. Or we also have people who are looking to go into grad school, have a prior undergraduate in a different area, and want to use this to kind of strengthen an application into a psychology-based graduate program. And finally, as noted in that poll, some people are taking it for personal interest, which is also great. So basically, wide variety of people are taking this program and should take this program. So whatever your motivation, great. Happy to have you join us. And you might even have more than one of those reasons. By completing this certificate, what will you learn? So there's one of the advantages to our certificate compared to some other certificates at other places is that idea of taking 10 courses. So we give you a broad foundation in psychology. You get that core principles of psychology. You learn about psychology as a whole, giving you that foundation to then be able to better understand the more specific subject matter of mental health and addictions. In addition to the foundational and the specific course material, you're also going to learn some important skills like how research is done, how to read research papers and pull out important information, how to personally write. So each course has a written component. So there's a lot of opportunities to develop skills beyond just learning the course material, which then is kind of reflected in these highlights. We're giving you that academic theoretical orientation as well research orientation. So you won't be conducting your own research, but you will be learning how to read research, how to understand research, which is really important. And then you will have this strong understanding of psychological disorders, addictions, how they work together. A lot of the courses will also tell you how this can be applied in different settings, etc. And for people who are looking for graduate school, this will give you a good foundation to prepare you for graduate school. It's giving you that basis that you're going to need. Okay, so here's the different course options. So as I noted, there was 10 courses. 4 of them are required, which is Intro 1 and Intro 2, and this really gives you that foundation in psychology. So you'll learn a little bit about everything in there. And then after that, you need to take psychological disorders, not surprising given the certificate, and psychological addictions. So that gives you your core courses. After that, you have choices. And these choices really reflects what you want out of the certificate. So it gives you a chance to kind of tailor the certificate to your needs. So there are 2 groups of electives. In Group A, you need to do 2 or 3. So a maximum of 3, a minimum of 2. And they include things like biological psychology, clinical psychology, drugs and behavior, etc. So those are Group A ones. And then Group B are even more kind of elective. They're a step further from what the certificate is about, but it gives you that kind of foundation that could be very helpful. So there you're doing 3 to 4. It depends how many from Group A you do, but you'll see it's things like psychology of law. So depending on where you want to take this mental health and addictions, law might be a really important course to pair it with. Or child development, if you want to look at addictions in adolescence, for example, having that foundation in child development would be important. So there's lots of really cool, interesting courses, and you get to choose what makes sense for what you want out of the certificate. So again, the certificate is very much designed for flexibility so that you can tailor it to what you need it to be. So I think at this point we are ready for questions. You are muted. Oh, there you
Sorry, I was on mute. Common mistake. But yeah, thank you so much for that great overview, Paul. Thank you for going over all the details. I know we have some questions coming in, but before we go into the questions, I just wanted to invite over one of our academic and career advisors who is also on the call. It's Abby. Welcome, Abby. And Abby can tell us a little bit about what her team does with all of our learners. Welcome.
You were sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby. I am one of the academic and career advisors at the Chang School. I do work alongside very closely with my colleague Dave, who is unable to join today. But if you have any questions throughout your time here at the Chang School, whether it be regards to academic planning or career planning, you can book an appointment with us. We do meet with students virtually. We accept phone calls, and if you would like to meet in person as well, we can certainly make arrangements for that as well. Aside from meeting with students, my team also focuses on creating a number of different events, networking events, career workshops, anything that's really going to help you make that career transition over. So do stay tuned. We do send newsletters out as well with some of the events that we'll be hosting throughout the year. So that should be hitting your inbox sometime soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Abby. And yep, as you've all just heard, Abby and her team does a lot with our learners, and yeah, feel free to reach out to them. Well, now we can start looking at some of the questions that are coming in, and I'll go with the first one. It is why is it limited to only maximum 3 courses? Is it not possible to take more than that?
Is that in regards to Group A electives?
At the same term, I guess.
Oh, I do not know what the limit is.
Yeah, so it is advised. I think that's the number that is advised. I'm sure Adam, who's our plan services advisor, can also answer to that. But yeah, if you're working full time, I don't think we can. We recommend it's not more than 1, a maximum 2. But if you're not working full time, that you can take more than 1 or 2 courses. If you take 3, that is a pretty hefty course load.
Yeah, you do want to make sure, like,
Yeah.
don't overload yourself too much. It's an issue that I've seen students do is they try to take too many at a time, and that just actually decreases what you get out of the courses because you're spread too thin. So sometimes it's better to take fewer and take a little bit longer to do the certificate, and you'll actually get more out of it.
So when courses are listed as prerequisites, are you able to take these at the same term? Or you need to complete the prerequisite first
You
before
need
it,
to
right?
complete the prerequisite first before you could take any of the other courses. So for the majority of the courses, you'll have to take 102 first, unless you've taken an intro course somewhere else, and then you could contact me, and then we could submit a prerequisite waiver and then do a transfer credit to get that credit counted towards the certificate. So there's ways around it. If you've already done an intro course somewhere else, let me know. But otherwise, yeah, you need to take 102 first. And the advantage of that is that it also kind of gives you an idea of how much you can handle in one term. So taking that one course first, and you'll see how much that takes of your time. And then for the next term, you'll be able to figure out, oh, maybe I can put in a second one, or maybe I should stick to one at a time, something like that. So it's actually helpful in a few different ways.
Perfect. Thank you. Next question is from Svetlana, who is wondering if you will get the slides. So we won't show the slides again now, but after this info session is done, within 24 hours, you'll receive a recording with all the information, so you can go over the slides as well. Thank you. Next question is the program eligible for the Better Jobs program and recognized by CACCF?
I honestly don't know.
What I believe is for a Better Jobs program, there are set requirements in their website. I think there is like a time limit requirement. It has to be completed within a certain time limit. Yeah, I'm not sure about CACCF, but we can definitely find out and respond back to you. So please email us about that. What kind of jobs can we obtain with the certificate?
So it's not like you complete the certificate, you're qualified for a specific job. So it depends on what you do with it, how you use it to launch. It could be in a career that you already are. So you'd have to look into it. So it's not say nursing where you get a nursing degree, you become a nurse. There's no direct job that comes out of it. It's how you use it to then apply for jobs or go for further education, etc.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Next question is regarding flexibility. So, the course website says duration is 1 to 2 years. But is there a deadline, or are we more flexible about, how long it takes to finish it?
So you officially have up to 7 years to complete it. So if it takes you 7, great, but the majority of people are doing it in that 1 to 2 years. But like I said, totally flexible. You have up to 7. So whatever works for you.
Awesome. Next question is how to arrange an in-person meeting. So we will send you that email and you can set that up. And then the next question is this course for registered nurses? Is that a background that this course supports?
It could definitely be helpful to registered nurses. We definitely have a lot of nurses who take it, but it's not specifically for nurses. It's open to anyone.
Yeah.
But we've definitely had a lot of nurses take it.
Next question is from Nicole. Thank you, Nicole, for your question. I've taken 102 and 202 from TMU. In that case, do I need to redo them?
Nope, definitely not. So if you've already taken 102 or 202, you can count them towards your certificate and then just do the rest of the courses.
And then following question, can the certificate be completed within 52 weeks? And does it support entry to a master's in psychology?
It can be done within 52 weeks. You'd be taking a lot at a time, so it's doable, but maybe stretching it a bit might be better. But again, it depends on your flexibility. And yes, you can definitely use it to help support a master's application.
Next question is from Eduardo. Thank you, Eduardo, for your question. He just wants to make sure a lot of graduate degrees request for the equivalent of 8 full courses in psychology as a requirement. Is 8 full courses attainable within this certificate?
Yeah, you're going to be doing 10.
Yeah.
So all the courses of the certificate are degree courses. So there are courses that the undergraduate psych students would be taking, etc. So yeah, you have 10 full courses in psychology.
And is there a final exam at the end of the course, or are passing grades calculated during the course? From Asha. Thank you, Asha, for your question.
It varies from course to course, but the majority of them have a final exam. Most of them will have a midterm or a couple tests throughout. And like I said, all of them have some kind of written component. So there'll be multiple different ways that you get evaluated throughout the course. And the majority of them have final exams. I think there's one that has a final assignment instead of a final exam, but the majority of them are final exams.
Okay, perfect. Next question is, can prior psychology coursework or lived experience in the recovery field be counted towards the program?
Prior psychology courses can, you'd have to, it depends where you did them. Would it change how you go about using them? So if you've done them at TMU, it's a bit simpler to just get them used up. If it's from another university, you'd have to go through the transfer credit process. And you have a limit of how many you can do. I think it's up to 50%. Abby could verify that, but I believe it's up to 50% that you can bring over. So to a certain degree, yes, and but with a limit. Lived experiences do not count towards the program. It has to be university credit.
There's a couple of questions about fieldwork and placement. Anything regarding that?
There is no field work and there's no placements.
That's what I know as well. Now the next question is, will it be helpful to update my GPA in my country? So someone has a GPA for 2.88, which is not enough for a master's.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. That's one of the reasons why they take certificates and take courses at continuing education. It is to boost up their GPA. So that is definitely possible. Obviously, you have to earn it, so you make sure to put in the work and get that higher grades. But absolutely, a lot of people, that's why they're doing it.
Awesome. Okay, so yes, one more question is, are the courses listed? Are the only courses for the program? For example, someone who's done social psychology and adult development from TMU, can those be counted?
No, the courses were very carefully selected as to which courses are available and can be counted as electives and in which category and all that. Consequently, you do need to pick from those courses. Alternatively, you can always, if you'd rather stick with those courses, you could do the psychology certificate instead that has a wider range of courses. So that's an option too, if you prefer.
Awesome. Great. So I know there are some other general questions which we will answer via text regarding, cost and attendance. But yeah, if we have any more questions, feel free to put them in. Okay, so there's more question about, is it mandatory to take, how many courses do we need to take per semester? Is it one mandatory with one elective? I don't think they have the flexibility, right?
Yeah,
They can
you
do
could take
that.
them in whatever after taking 102. So 102 is the prerequisite for basically everything else. Then you could take them pretty much in any order. The only one there's on Group A, there's the clinical psychology course. The prerequisite for that one is the psychological disorders course. So you'd have to do that one before doing the clinical psychology one. But besides that, you could do them in any order you want. Partly it will depend on what's available. We don't offer every course every term. A lot of them we do, but not every course. And then sometimes it's also based on how many seats are available. So there's a limit of how many students per course per term. Consequently, I do urge you to make sure to register for courses quickly after they open up. The psychology courses do tend to fill up quickly. Don't wait till like the day of the semester starting. That's going to be difficult. So register early. It'll be helpful.
Perfect. And I know a few people have asked for our career advisor and academic advisor Abby's email, so I've just put that in there. We'll also put in the other career advisor and academic advisor's email, so you can reach out to them. Okay, so a couple of more questions coming in. Question about Psych Farm. Is it being offered yet? Because they don't see it.
It is not being offered this year. One of the reasons for that is the other course listed there, drugs and behavior, is basically the equivalent course, so you can only take one or the other. So if you're interested in psych pharm, just take drugs and behavior. It covers the same material. There's a difference between liberal and whatever, and so that's not something you need to worry about, but just take drugs and behavior if you're interested in psychopharm.
Okay, this next question is, are there access to accommodations for students with disability? If
Oh,
it's a
absolutely.
certificate
Yeah.
program, assuming that a yes, and yes, that is, so.
Yeah, so make sure to get registered for it, but register with the accommodation center, and then your instructor will receive a letter with your specific accommodations, and then you just reach out to your instructor and put everything in place. So instructors are very open to that. No problems with that whatsoever. Just make sure to get registered with the academic accommodation center.
And a few questions about delivery. So, are the lectures live? Are they pre-recorded? Is there live sessions? Things like that.
Again, it depends on the type. So as I mentioned at the beginning, there's the asynchronous and then there's the virtual. So the virtual typically has live lectures. The asynchronous does not. And you'll see that there are more asynchronous than live. And the reason for that is flexibility. So students have generally asked us for more flexibility so that they can do it when it fits their schedule. So you'll see most of them are asynchronous, so you can read over the material, watch the stuff whenever you want. But there are some that are still virtual with a live lecture, but live through like this through Zoom.
Okay, awesome. Next question is, I have 2 postgrad from GBC, including a bachelor's and a different program, economics. Can I proceed to a master's program after completing this certificate?
It depends on what master program you're looking at. So when considering grad applications, look at the school that you're interested in and look at what their application is like and what do they require. And that will tell you if this certificate is sufficient for their application process. So I can't guarantee it for every university. Every program is slightly different. So reach out to the courses or the master programs that you're interested in and find out what they need for your application.
So they mentioned it's master's in social work.
Yeah, I know, but I can't
Yeah,
determine what.
that was the
Yeah.
program that they're interested in. And then someone who has 5 years working in social services, if that counts towards the certificate.
No, so
That
the
doesn't.
certificate is purely based on courses. So it's to give you that extra. So it's to add education to your experience to strengthen your application for a job or strengthen your application to grad school, etc. So it's providing you the education part.
Perfect. Next question is there a lot of group work?
No, there's a bit. And there's like a lot of the online courses will have discussion boards where you interact with each other and that kind of stuff. But in terms of actual group work where you work together on an assignment, etc., I know there's a couple courses that have it, but it's not the norm. Again, part of it is down to flexibility to give you, it's harder to arrange and you all you're generally working, etc. So it's difficult. So we recognize that. And so not a lot. I can only think of actually one off the top of my head that has group work. So no, generally. And the other thing too is if it's something you're looking to avoid, you can always look at course outlines before you register for a course. So you could see what works for you in terms of that.
So on the same topic, is there a lot of homework?
It definitely is work. So go into it expecting to do work. You're going to have readings to do every week. You're going to have assignments to work on. You're going to need to study. You're going to have to read modules, watch videos if you're doing the asynchronous. You're going to have to attend lectures if it's not. Again, that's one of the advantages of doing 102 because it'll give you a good sense of how much work is involved in a course, and then you could plan accordingly afterwards. But there's definitely work. So go in there realizing you're going to have to do some work. It's not going to be like a full-time job by any means, but there is work involved.
How much time do you think someone should maybe square away every week? About 10 to 15 hours?
I'd say about 10. It depends. Well, part of it also depends on how fast you work. And that's why I'm always careful about those estimates because some people take a lot longer to read through the work and that's fine. And some people do it faster as long as it works for you. So it depends on your speed of work. And again, consider how much like know yourself better than I know you. So think about how long it normally takes you to say read a chapter of a book. And then think of that because lots of times you'll have a chapter of a textbook to read per term or per week plus whatever the lecture is, etc., and then work on an assignment maybe and study. So it can vary.
Okay, awesome. Thank you everybody for joining. And right now we don't have any more open questions. So, oh, is there a textbook?
Yeah, so every course will have a textbook. Some of them are open source, so they'd be free. Most of them you need to buy or rent. So a lot of publishers have moved towards ebooks, and a lot of them have a rent option, so you could rent it rather than buy it. And the advantage of that is that they're significantly cheaper to rent versus buy. And again, if you look at a course outline, the textbook is listed and the cost of the textbook is listed. So you could take that into consideration as well.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that, Paul. Next question is, will everyone have their own schedule? How do basically the schedules of quizzes and exam, how does that look like?
No, so once you register for a course, the course is one term. And within that term, the instructor will give you a set schedule of test is on this day, assignments due this day, etc. So you determine how many courses you take in a term and how long you take in terms of doing all the courses. But once you're registered in a course, it is a one term, so about 4 months. So it's 12 weeks plus the exam. And then there are specific deadlines within that course.
Awesome. If someone is in Toronto, is there an opportunity to use university facilities?
I believe so. I don't, yeah.
So you have
Yeah,
access
you
to,
can definitely, like if you want to go to the library, for example, you definitely could.
as long as you get your T card from the
Yeah.
university, you can use the facilities. Okay, just looking at some more questions. Some questions about payment options. So yeah, if you go to our website, you will see the cost of the website, the cost of the course. And if you require any assistance with financing your certificate, you can contact us with the email address that we shared, and we can definitely speak about that. Is there any option for in-person work?
Nope. None of our courses are in person anymore. The pandemic really pushed us towards online, and students requested that we stay online. We tried doing a couple in-person courses last year, and nobody signed up for them. So, yeah, all the courses will be online or virtual. I see a question about testing done, so I'll answer that
Yes.
one. So
Yeah.
testing is done online through our course management page, so D2L. So it's an online quiz. We do use Respondus, so it uses your camera to record you as a way to invigilate. So instead of having a person watching you in person, it's keeping academic integrity that way. But you do the test from the privacy of your own home.
I know there was some more questions about getting the student ID and getting the T card, which have been answered by our client service advisor, Adam. Thank you, Adam, for answering those. And then I think there was also another question about payment, which was answered by Abby. So thank you for answering that, Abby. So, I'll just repeat that just for everybody. The program is eligible for OSAP, and you can apply for needs-based bursaries. And the link is provided, and I can provide that link for everyone else in the chat here too. Okay. Yeah, so we'll leave it on for a couple of more minutes to see if there are any other questions. No more open questions right now, Paul, but anything else? Any last comments you want to mention?
I would say if you're planning on applying to grad school, if that's your goal with doing the certificate, make sure to reach out and interact with your profs a bit, because the odds are you're going to need reference letters, and it's a lot easier to write reference letters for people that we've had some kind of interaction with. So reach out to your profs, ask questions, get involved, be engaged in the course. Um, it will be helpful for us in the long run to help you. So that's just one thing.
Great advice. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so we'll do one last poll just to see how we did and then get everybody's feedback while I do the closing remarks. But yeah, I wanted to really thank you, Paul, today for presenting. Wanted to thank Abby for answering questions regarding career and academic advising, and then Adam as well for answering all the general questions regarding the certificate, and Randall, our CCS representative, for making sure everything goes well in the background and everything runs smoothly. And I wanted to thank everyone that attended. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend this session. I know it's lunch hour, so thank you for joining us during this time. And also thank you for posting your questions and participating. We will get in touch with all of you, everyone who has attended and not attended as well. If you're interested in learning more about the certificate, please visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca. If you have any other questions, like I said, you can contact me directly at mash.chaudhry@torontomu.ca. And you will receive a follow-up email with this information and a recorded session, as well as a survey within 24 to 48 hours. And on behalf of our presenter and the Chang School, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of the day.